All right. Well, I'm here today with three legends of Potomac and Chesapeake ACAC history.
Well, I think there are four legends here. Don't be modest.
And one diplomat.
Yes, yes. So why don't we first start by you all introducing yourselves, and then we'll go from there. So,
I'm Conrad Warlick, retired from the University of Mary Washington, a.k.a. Mary Washington College. Been retired for 17 years.
all right. And next?
Next, I'm Pam Spence. Most recently retired 4 years ago from the University of Richmond, where I was Dean of Admissions.
And Mr. Pollard.
Tom Pollard, Dean of Admissions at the University of Richmond for 33 years and retired 21 years.
Who are some of the people, the personalities that you remember from your involvement in Potomac and Chesapeake over those years?
Well, Joe Monty certainly is one. Steadfast, on time, always around.
I'll tell you two people I remember, Sally Scott and Charlotte Wilder, who were always there. Once again, not in the role of the president, but just the most supportive, wonderful people.
I think I remember probably, and this is not a surprise to most people who know me professionally and socially, it's Jean Rayburn, who, and my history with Jean, and she passed away a number of years ago, but she not only recruited me to Queens College in Charlotte, North Carolina, now Queens University, but then hired me in admissions back in 1968, which led to a 40-plus year career in the field. And so I pay tribute and I salute her.
We were competitors, but we were also friends, and we knew the difference between those two roles. And we never let one really interfere with the other.
Well, it was a common goal. We weren't out to compete. We were out to give young people the best opportunity that either one of the institutions could provide.
My entire life has not been at the University of Richmond, but was at three other institutions, one in the South and two others in the Northeast. And I would say, having been a part of their regional ACACs, I can honestly say that hands down, Potomac and Chesapeake was by far the most professional among those four ACACs. And whereas I fell into the situation whereas my professional friends also became my social friends. And that doesn't happen in many, I think, organizations.
No.
When I left admissions and went into the president's office as his assistant, I no longer had a support group. In admissions, I had a support group. They were my competitors, but they were also my support, my friends, and my colleagues.
I brought this along, and I think the people out there might like to see that we're old now. We're a bunch of old fogies.
More mature.
Yes, more mature,
Aging.
in lots of ways. But this is what we looked like 32 years ago, with Ed Cox, who no longer is with us, or Jean Rayburn. We gave him a rocking chair, and on the bottom is wired the preferred beverage of the day. It's very secret, but I will let the secret out. It just happens to be a bottle of scotch.
We call that an endowed chair.
Yeah, that's right.
You've been to a lot of conferences over the years, a lot of PCACAC conferences. Are there any stories that come to mind? Any conferences that are especially memorable, or events that occurred at any of these that you recall?
The Carousel Hotel in Ocean City, Maryland, and our social, which was always an active event, was actually held over the ice rink of the facility
And our feet froze. I remember that.
to death.
Yep, I remember that.
We sat there at the dinner and everybody had their feet propped up on a chair because you couldn't put it down on they had wood over it, I think, but it still was cold, cold, cold. You know, you were talking about other ACACs. I was always impressed by the number of people who came from the southern region, the Northeast, all around to our meeting because it was always so good. And I think it said something about PCACAC.
Well, think about some of the ways that the admissions profession has changed. But the profession is really, I mean, it's one of constant change. And what are some of the things that you've seen as changes, maybe for the better, maybe for the worse?
Oh, the common application.
Yeah.
You know, we never conceived of. You know, kids usually apply to 3 places. Now they apply to a dozen.
I think it's the whole area of technology. I knew it was time for me to think about retirement when I was dreaming in Green Bar about ranks in class and test scores and GPAs. We can't live without it, and it's also the bane of our existence.
Many places I think have gone to the one-stop shop where they try to put a lot of things that are related together rather than having them in their own little fiefdoms.
Well, you know, one thing I think the folks here are excellent examples of as well. And one thing that I hope our profession doesn't lose is the idea of bringing professionals along. You talked about Gene hiring you and serving as a mentor. Conrad certainly was for me as my predecessor here at Mary Washington, and Tom for you at Richmond, and that was always an important element, which I think dovetails with kind of the ethos of Potomac and Chesapeake, and that is bringing young professionals along, teaching them the ethical standards and what really is important about the whole process of transitioning from secondary school to higher education. And that, I think, you know, all of us who have worked with people like you owe you a debt of gratitude for that, and I hope that continues through the generations to come.
I just hope in the future people who belong to PCACAC will have the fun and learning that we got from our association with that group.